In today's news, Governor Jaspert launches commission of inquiry against the government of the Virgin Islands, as well as government grants grace period on water disconnections.
Also, Premier Fahie pushes for post-pandemic recovery at the United Nations Ministerial Forum, and bad news for the USVI, no cruise ship will be able to visit for 2021. All that and so much more when 284 News returns.
Hey BVI, it's 2021 and guess what? We are kicking taboo to the curb. Let's face it, the world lacks conversation. So, we are bringing you homemade cocktails, thought-provoking topics, and nuggets to rock your world. A show that promises to keep it fun, frank, and fresh. So, come on this journey with me. This is Keeping It Candid, conversations for the modern world.
Welcome everyone. Today is Monday, the 18th of January, 2020, and we are coming to you live this evening out of the British Virgin Islands. I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes.
And my name is Javon Wilson. Coming back from a very, very quiet weekend, but big news hitting the territory today, Kyla. Lots of news coming out of the governor's office.
Most definitely. Now, Javon, just this morning, Governor Augustus Jaspert, in a statement posted to his Facebook page and then disseminated to the local media, he is now launching a commission of inquiry. And basically, viewers, we'll definitely be getting into what that really means. But the governor was speaking to Good Governance in, or BVI, and he said that there's a list of concerns and allegations that have been flying around as of recently, but in even days before. So viewers will definitely be getting into that. This is big news coming out of the governor's office.
Definitely, Kyla. We see it being replicated on the international media and not a lot of good things being said about the BVI. So again, we really have to keep tabs on what's happening here. Not only the allegations, but also how the BVI and its brand is being represented on the international scene. And again, I keep saying it time and time again, the governor is due to leave very shortly, and he's certainly going out with a bang. Viewers, the public is also advised that ongoing construction work will now impact the flow of movement through the major people's wing of the Dr. D. Orlando Smith Hospital beginning today, January 18th. Now, road-tongue and outpatient clinics will be accessible through the main entrance at the front of the major people's wings. Visitors will no longer gain entry at the old emergency entrance. Now, the hallway adjacent to the laboratory will also have restricted movement, and any inconvenience, of course, is being apologized for by the BVI Health Services Authority as this construction is undertaken to enhance services. Also in the region, we see Barbados Prime Minister Ms. Mia Mottley taking that first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. As you can see in that picture, Mia Mottley said, and I quote, "I am not asking anybody to do anything which I will not do," she said with a very broad smile. So here we see leading by example, really. A lot of persons are still very much worried about the effects of this vaccine that came about in less than a year in the midst of a pandemic. Nevertheless, we see leaders really coming forward and saying, you know what, if I can do it, you can do it too.
I agree. Leading by example, I think this is just one of the ways to convince people in the region as well as internationally that this is something that is safe for them to do. But good for Prime Minister Mottley. Now, viewers, let's get right into it. Now, the governor of the Virgin Islands, His Excellency Augustus J.U. Jaspert, announced that a commission of inquiry will be established in the BVI. The Commission of Inquiry will be issued in accordance with the BVI's Commission of Inquiry Act. Now, the Commission of Inquiry will be a body that can look impartially into matters of public concern. The Commission will look into whether corruption, abuse of office, or other serious dishonesty in relations to officials, elected, statutory, or public, may have taken place in recent years. If so, it will consider the conditions which allow this to take place and make independent recommendations for improvement. Now, viewers, in a statement posted to his official Facebook page, we see where Governor Jaspert speaks to some of these concerns and allegations that he says has been going on for quite some years now. Viewers, let's take a look.
I would like to take a moment to let the people of BVI know that your voices have been heard. We have received the message loud and clear. The people of BVI want better. I've also been speaking with my colleagues in the Governor's Group, including the Deputy Governor, the Auditor General, the Police Commissioner, the Registrar of Interests and others. We share responsibility for ensuring good governance and are concerned by what we have seen in our roles and the allegations put to us. I will now set out the concerns and allegations which date back a number of years. I think this is important, not only to ensure full transparency, but also to give a voice to the voiceless. First, there are wide concerns over the lack of transparency when it comes to spending public funds, particularly those related to COVID-19 economic stimulus support. Second, there are wide concerns over the possible mismanagement of some public projects. Successive audit reports have set out practices of political interference, inflated pricing, and conflicts of interest. These may have cost the public purse millions of dollars in recent years with no sign of improvement. Third, and linked to the previous points, there are concerns over the lack of transparency relating to government contracts. Key concerns include a lack of fair and open competition, conflicts of interest, and a lack of value for money. We need to know how individuals are getting work so we can ensure equal opportunities for all. Fourth, there are allegations of some political interference occurring in some statutory bodies. A number of officers from our bodies have come to me with concerns about individuals being replaced by political allies and officers being coerced into circumventing protocols and taking improper practices. There are similar allegations relating to the public service and serious allegations of attempts of interfering in the criminal justice system. Finally, there are wide concerns about intimidation taking place across our society, public services and the media, with many describing a growing culture of fear in BVI. In addition to these allegations, there is growing evidence of serious organised crime infiltrating BVI. This was made clear in November when 2,300 kilos of cocaine, with a street value of at least $250 million, was smuggled through our borders. Now let me be clear about the fact that these are allegations. However, they cannot be ignored, and I must fulfil my constitutional role to support the people and to uphold the peace.
Now, Javon, there was our Governor Augustus Jaspert speaking to some of the allegations. And as he said in this video, that these are just allegations, but they're forming this body to make sure that this is not going on. Now we're going to go over the list just quickly, the list of the allegations that were mentioned. Now, there was a lack of transparency with public spending, political interference with statutory bodies, transparency relating to government contracts, as well as management, the mismanagement, that is, of public projects, as well as interference with criminal justice system in general. Now, these are some heavy allegations. Now, Governor Jaspert is hopeful that the residents of the BVI will engage the commission, for this is an opportunity to shape the future of the Virgin Islands. He stated, "I hope everyone feels empowered to engage with the commission. It will be your opportunity to shape the way things are done and help put things right for the next generation." And Javon, also we see where Governor Jaspert quoted our past Chief Minister H. Laverty Stout in speaking to "Where there's no vision, the people perish," and really asking the people of the Virgin Islands, where do they see themselves? What does the vision for the BVI look like? As we, looked on social media, just looking at the public's response, Javon, persons seem as though they're happy for this commission to be coming into effect. And this is the general public or the general populace, just some sort of percentage of that.
And Kyla, some people are happy for the wrong reasons. Some people, and especially those I'm going to say very plainly, who are anti-government,
Right.
anti the VIP party,
Right.
are applauding the governor on this move, not recognizing that if you are to read the statement in full details, this will date back to successive governments.
Yes, it
the
will.
NDP, as a matter of fact, right before taping this newscast, the government of the Virgin Islands actually came forward and acknowledged that they are actually welcoming this commission of inquiry because it goes in collaboration, or it complements rather their quest to also look into past matters like the Pier Park project. We had the BVI Airways project gone bad. We also had the perimeter wall at the Elmo Stout High School.
Yes.
But Kyla, can we look back at just the NDP government and say that's the only issues of error we've had in the past as it relates to good governance? No, absolutely not.
Right.
And so persons should be glad, especially persons who hold good governance at high regards,
Exactly.
should be very happy that the governor within his position, but also within his constitutional role as governor, is looking into this. It bothers me really, because ever since this story has dropped, we see that international media has really made a mess of the BVI's name. We see very, very strong allegations coming forward. And in the governor's statement, he's very careful to say these are just allegations
Yes.
until proven. But the international media is running with those statements and really making it into their own. And especially in a time as COVID-19, where the BVI is a dependent on the United Kingdom and also looking to benefit from merged relationships with other persons in the region and around the world, this could be very, very damaging to product BVI.
Now, Javon, as you mentioned, those international media reports, now those media reports came out urgently. I think they even came out before the local stories came out. And as you said, just the headlines, and it really does not allude to the message in which Governor Jaspert is trying to portray in his video. The headlines are just damning, say the least. One of them, speaking about, if you think that corruption is in the UK, you haven't been looking good enough. And that's really just crazy to me. So I really think it really makes
the fact is corruption is everywhere. Corruption is definitely everywhere, but we just have to be careful with how we are going to tell the story of the BVI. We're not denying that there is corruption here, but we really have to monitor. And that's why in occasions like these, even when we can reflect on the tourists being held here when they were found illegally in our waters, and when that hit international media, how damaging that was for our tourism product. I think in instances like these, it's very important that the government do a collective and very public response to these type of situations. Also, I'm very happy to see that the Premier has welcomed this commission of inquiry, because just recently as well, the government of the Virgin Islands presented a draft of the Integrity in Public Life legislation, which is also geared at stamping out local corruption at government levels, and also any allegations of misconduct within the public service. So all of this is working together. But Kyla, another thing is, I keep saying the government is definitely going out with a bang, and I really do think it's the truth. But we see the governor's office and the premier's office denying that there are no issues between the offices. But when you look at situations like these, especially the mere fact that the governor would have recorded this video on his own, and usually you would see that being recorded, of course, by the government's GIS body, of course. It's very telling, and it's also very suggestive that there are issues between the offices.
There is a pull,
and it is sad, because at this point, everyone really and truly needs to be working together.
Javon, I am also happy to see Premier Fahie and his government welcoming this legislation, because I think that this is what we want. I think good governance in general is what we want in the BVI, and I think that media outlets, I hope, international media outlets, that they also pick up that this is something that the people of the Virgin Islands want, the government of the Virgin Islands want. We're not against good governance, and we're not for corruption.
Right.
So we're definitely here for stamping out corruption in our territory. But viewers, I can say I don't think this is the end of this. I think there's lots more developing out of this story. And of course, we will be keeping you updated on this.
Our viewers, as we move along, the government of the Virgin Islands is now offering a grace period of 3 months on the disconnections of water services to customers of the Water and Sewage Department. Now, Minister for Transportation, Works and Utilities, Honorable Kai Rimas, said that the grace period will begin today, Monday, January 18th, and last up until April 30th. He said, and I quote, "This period is to allow customers the opportunity to settle outstanding balances. Your government understands the challenges that you, the residents, have experienced as a result of the impact of COVID-19, the pandemic last year. As a result, we decided to add some leniency in the regularly scheduled disconnections," Honorable Rimas said. He also added that the grace period will begin on Monday, January 18th, that is today, to Friday, April 30th. He said, "During this period, we are encouraging customers of the Water and Sewage Department, including those who have bill discrepancies, to make arrangements to bring their accounts current." Now, viewers, for more information on this, persons may telephone the Water and Sewage Department at 284-468-5834 or 468-5901, or you can email wsd@gov.vg. Viewers, of course, an opportunity for you to go in and settle those balances. We are all quite aware of the impacts of COVID-19 and the financial constraints we have had to experience as a result of that. Here we see the government really giving persons an opportunity to catch up. I know it's still difficult for a lot of persons, Kyla, because a lot of persons are still out of jobs. A lot of persons are still operating on reduced salaries. And we don't even know by the end of January what's going to happen as it relates to persons, businesses being able to rehire or sever persons. But at this time, the government is at least trying to, here and there, trying their best to release persons of those financial burdens, at least for a while.
And we're definitely happy for that. Now, viewers, still ahead, Premier Fahie pushes post-pandemic recovery at the UN Ministerial Forum. You don't want to miss this. This is 284 News, and we'll be right back.
The win! Oh!
Twitter the hell
I'm freaking out!
is time.
284 News.
Coming to you live and direct from the beautiful British Virgin Islands.
What's poppin', what's really good, what's happening, what's up?
Davis has won it for the Lakers!
Is business slow, cash flow down, hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, the Premier and Minister of Finance, Honorable Andrew A. Fahie, has told the United Nations that the Sustainable Development Goals are a catalyst for post-pandemic recovery in his remarks at the virtual UNDP ECLAC Ministerial Forum for Development in Latin America and the Caribbean, the 12th to 4th, which was from, the 12th to 4th of January of this year. In his address as a panelist at the high-level ministerial roundtable, themed Effective Government Beyond Recovery, on the 14th of January, Premier Fahie outlined the steps the British Virgin Islands has taken in response to the COVID-19 pandemic to contain the virus and stabilize the economy. He also expressed confidence in the recovery of the tourism sector under new entry and health protocols. Premier Fahie said, and I quote, "We took a further step toward the recovery of our economy on the 1st of December 2020, when the borders were reopened to visitors under a robust set of entry and health protocols. The arrangements put in place have performed reasonably well thus far. Our screening procedures have been successful in netting and isolating any imported cases of COVID-19. Numbers remain low, but we could continue to adjust our protocols as necessary to ensure the safety of the public. We are very pleased to see the return of visitors and anticipate a relatively low number of tourists currently on island will significantly increase by the next tourism season. Now, to ensure the British Virgin Islands remains competitive in the global market over the long term, we are now developing a new tourism strategy that will position us for continued success and sustainability. In addition to that, viewers Premier emphasized the continuing importance of the Sustainable Development Goals despite COVID-19. He further said, and I quote, "While we know the global pandemic has placed the Sustainable Development Goals at risk, the British Virgin Islands views the SDGs as a catalyst for post-pandemic recovery. We believe that the transition required to achieve them will boost economic growth over the long term, especially as transaction and environmental costs drop over time." He also thanked the UNDP Regional Director from Latin America and the Caribbean, Dr. Luis Felipe Lopez Calvasari, and the ECLAC Executive Secretary Alicia Barcina for the continued support by the UNDP and ECLAC to the small island developing states of the Caribbean and the wider Latin America and Caribbean region as governments grapple with the impact of the global pandemic. Now, the British Virgin Islands delegation to the Ministerial Forum included Premier and Minister of Finance, of course, Honorable Andrew A. Foy, who was the head of the delegation. We also had the Minister of Health and Social Development, Honorable Carver Malone, Permanent Secretary in the Premier's office, Dr. Carolyn O'Neill Martin. We also had Acting Financial Secretary Jeremiah Frett, Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Social Development, Ms. Tasha Bertie, the Director of International Affairs Secretariat, Najan Christopher. We also had Assistant Secretary for External Affairs, Ms. Dunell Davis, Program Officer Zyra Wheatley, and of course our very own Special Envoy of the Premier, Mr. Benito Wheatley. Now, the British Virgin Islands is a vice chair of the Caribbean Development and Cooperation Committee, which is the CDCC, and a subsidiary body of ECLAC. Kyla, here we see the Premier in his consultations with the rest of the region. And recently we've been really hearing a lot as it relates to collaborations with the UNDP and ECLAC, which are two regional bodies, and really looking at the fact that in the midst of COVID-19, as we strive to separate ourselves from larger nations who are really struggling with the impacts of COVID-19, like the United States and the United Nations, here we see the Premier and the government strengthening relations with regional bodies and not only taking away from them, but also sharing with them what the BVI has done, what has worked, and what we can improve on in this season.
I'm very happy to see this. I think strengthening ties in these times are very, very, very important. Now, as we move on, now viewers, as we know, one of the hardest hit industries during the COVID-19 pandemic has been the cruise ship travel. And while some cruise lines are gearing up to resume leisure travel in April, they say, members of the WICO board are pessimistic that this return date is unattainable. Now, of course, this is news coming out of the US Virgin Islands, and WICO stands for the West Indies Company. Now, during WICO's interim president and CEO Anthony Otley report at Friday's board meeting, he mentioned that MSC Cruise, Carnival Cruise Line, Holland American Line, Norwegian Cruise Line, as well as Disney Cruise Line have a proposed sailing date at the start of April. Royal Caribbean and Princess Cruisers have a proposed date in May. Now, WICO have previously sought to resume cruise travel this month, but the pandemic has not let up. And with the United Kingdom strain of the coronavirus set to become the dominant version of the pathogen in the US, according to the Center of Disease Control, which is the CDC, and a timeline for cruise ship travel resumption remains now unknown. Now, Enric Rodriguez, that is, a member of the WICO board, pointed to over 4,000 people who died in the U.S. as a result of COVID-19 on January 12th alone, and asked for a realistic timeline on when cruise travel would resume at the Wicklow port. He said, and I quote, "That is very difficult. In my conversations with some of the lines, they are anxious to come back. They are making the provisions on the ships to come back. At this particular moment, I think that April calls may be challenging, but I'm hoping and wishing for May and anticipate we should have something by May," end quote. Now, Mr. Rodriguez did not feel the same way. He said, and I quote, "I doubt we are going to see a cruise ship in 2021 with the rate going the way that it is going. The debt rates are only moving upwards. I think in the back of my mind, Mr. Otley, you should prepare some type of plan that allows us to get to the end of 2021 without a single ship in port." Now, the latest CDC update on cruise ship travel states that the federal agency intends to take a phased approach to resuming passenger operations. These phases include establishment of laboratory tests for crew on board the cruise ships in the U.S. waters to simulate voyages designed to test a cruise ship operator's ability to mitigate COVID-19 on cruise ships. 3, a certified process. And 4, a return to passenger voyages in a manner that mitigates the risk of COVID-19, the introduction, the transmission, or the spread among passengers, crew on board, and on-shore committees. Now, Javon, this story is a very important story because I think we can most definitely relate in the BVI, as cruise ships and cruise ship travel is one of our biggest industries when it comes to tourism in the BVI. But here we see, some might call it a pessimistic approach, but this board member is saying, hey, we probably need to put a plan in place where ships might not be in our port for 2021. And I think these are the conversations that need to be had. I think since early last year, persons were hoping that the cruise ship industry would be back up and running. We saw where CDC put off the relative timelines and the deadlines for a no sail date. But we're still here in 2021 and no cruise ships have set to sail yet. So really and truly, is this pessimistic, or this is really just being realistic and planning for the future?
And some might even say being proactive, because one of the things we do know, like we did mention just before the break, we did mention because we are so interconnected with places like the United States and the United Kingdom, where the majority of our tourists come from those areas, and we see how devastated those areas are by COVID-19, we really do have to take into account those timelines, because until America recovers from this, until the United Kingdom is able to bounce back from this, persons will not have the funds or even feel safe enough to travel. So you have to think long term, like WICO is doing in the USVI. Luckily, we see the USVI standing to benefit even more. We see a larger stimulus coming forward. Of course, that will be handed down under the Biden administration. We see extended moratoriums. We also see additional unemployment benefits coming forward under this $1.9 trillion plan. And that is critical to the people surviving in the USVI, especially when prime industries such as the cruise ship industry is under threat.
I do agree. Now, viewers, of course, that is it for today's news roundup. Be sure to follow us for our daily news updates at 284media.com. Of course, you can check us out on Facebook at 284media, and we are on Instagram as well as Twitter at 284BVI. It is always my pleasure. I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes.
And my name is Javon Wilson, thanking you, of course, for joining us each and every night at 6 p.m., but of course, inviting you once again to join us tomorrow. That is Tuesday, of course, for your daily dose of local, regional, as well as international content. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye.